Today I've got a list of 10 killer horror movie recommendations on physical media for any of you who are looking for some ideas on what to watch this spooky season. So let's rock. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back, I'm Fuzz. So in my last video, I went over the 31 Days of Horror Challenge that I'm going to be doing this year, but it occurred to me I didn't really leave you guys with a nice solid list of horror movie recommendations. And I started thinking about it after I made that video, and I didn't want to leave you guys empty-handed going into the month of October if you're looking for some ideas on stuff to watch. So today I've got a list of 10 great horror gems on physical media that are absolutely worth checking out if you've never seen them before, if you're just looking for some ideas on what to watch in October. Now this recommendation list is going to be a little bit different than maybe how I do my usual videos. Usually I'm picking like my top 10 favorites of any given topic, right? But for this list, I wanted to be able to talk about some of the horror titles that I haven't had a chance to really highlight on this channel very much, or if I have brought them up, it's only been briefly and in passing. So I'm not approaching this list as any kind of like a ranked top 10 list this time around. I will be numbering them just so I can keep track of where I'm at in the list, but these really are in no particular order of preference. It's just a random list of films that I think are a lot of fun. I just wanted to point out some killer horror films that I personally really dig and that I thought you guys might like to consider as well for your October watch lists. Now, I'm not going to do a long-winded intro or anything this time. I'm just going to get right into this list here. The first title I wanted to talk about was The Dead Zone. Great pairing there. Stephen King meets David Cronenberg. I mean, you can't go wrong with that combination, right? And of course, we have the great Christopher Walken here, who, in my view, delivers the performance of his career in this film. I just absolutely love this film. Funny thing about this is, prior to watching it recently and picking this up, I hadn't actually seen this film for maybe 20, 25 years, something like that. It had been a long time. I had seen this film multiple times before. It had just been a long time. So when I went into this, I was actually kind of questioning whether it was really even a horror film, to be honest. I remembered it being more of kind of like a dramatic thriller at the time when I'd seen it years ago. But upon revisiting this, this is absolutely a horror film. There's some great stuff in here. And of course, horror is a big tent genre, right? There's tons of little subgenres out there. So there's all kinds of things that technically could be considered horror that would fit within the horror realm. This is one such choice. And yeah, just a fantastic film. Like I said, amazing performance from Christopher Walken, and Martin Sheen's in this. Yeah, so if you've never seen The Dead Zone, I definitely recommend checking it out. Next up, from 1987, we have a great little creature flick called The Kindred. Now, this was put out by Synapse Films last year, 2022. Now, I'll be honest, I've only watched it the one time, and I'm definitely due for a rewatch. I remembered really enjoying this, but I don't totally remember all the details since I'd only seen it one time. So I'm definitely due for a rewatch on this myself. But I do remember really liking this one. And Synapse Films always does such a great job with all their releases. And this one also includes like almost an hour-long making of, kind of retrospective documentary that I remembered being quite good. So yeah, if you've never seen this one, or if you have seen it but it's been a long time, you might want to put this on your watch list for October. And I will be putting some Amazon links in the description to all the films that I talk about in this video. But yeah, definitely check out this cool little creature feature when you get the chance from Synapse Films. Next up, doing a little Italian horror here, a little giallo, and that is going all the way back to 1971 for this one, and that is The Case of the Scorpion's Tail. This is directed by Sergio Martino, who I really like. From what I understand, I think that director, he did like 5 or 6 giallo films over the course of his career. And of all of his giallo films, this is probably my favorite. I liked it more than Your Vice is a Locked Room. I liked it more than All the Colors of the Dark. Just a really good film. if you're into Italian horror and the giallo subgenre. This is a fun little murder mystery, and also put out by Arrow. This is actually a Region A Blu-ray, and Arrow, of course, always does great work. So if you've never seen The Case of the Scorpion's Tail or gotten into Sergio Martino's movies, if you're a Dario Argento fan but you haven't really explored this guy very much, you definitely want to check him out at some point. He's got some great stuff. Moving on to another Arrow title, this is kind of a classic. This would be Horror Express. You got some horror royalty in this one. You got Peter Cushing, you got Christopher Lee, and then they throw in Telly Savalas for good measure. Just a great film. This is one of those films where I do believe that the less you know about it going into it, the better. In fact, I would encourage you to not even bother reading the synopsis from Arrow, because that actually gives away some details about the film that I think if you've never seen this before, you'd be better off not knowing going in and just letting the film kind of unfold and wash over you, right? So, but this is a great horror classic. When did this come out? This was 1984. But I had a lot of fun with this when I watched it last year during the 31 Days of Horror Challenge. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. This is one I was definitely glad that I picked up on physical media, because after watching it last year for the first time, it was clear to me that this absolutely should be in my collection. So, but if you've never seen it, check it out. Horror Express. Moving on, I've got a great little Vestron video release here, and that is Chopping Mall from 1986. This is a fun little movie about, well, basically it's these supposedly state-of-the-art security robots in a mall that end up killing people. So that's the essential premise here. But it's a fun film. You got Kelly Maroney in this one. And something interesting about this, just on the packaging, I was really surprised to actually find that I got a slipcover with this one. I only got this one in the last couple weeks. I bought it from Amazon. Now keep in mind, this is the first title released in this Vestron Video Collector's Series, meaning it's been out for a long time. This was released like in 2016, and I was not at all expecting to get a slipcover with this when I ordered it from Amazon. I was just assuming it was those slipcovers were long gone, you know, since it was released 7 years ago, right? But sure enough, I got this beautiful, pristine slipcover for Chopping Mall, and I was just blown away. I did not expect that at all. So if by any chance you've been in the market for this title, you might want to try ordering it from Amazon, and I will include the link below of the exact link that I ordered from in case you want to give it a try. Now, as far as whether you'll get a slipcover if you order this from Amazon, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just could have been a fluke and there was like one random one left over and I happened to get it. Maybe. But if you have been in the market for this release and you're a big fan of slipcovers and collectible packaging, you might want to try picking it up from Amazon and seeing if you get lucky like I did. Anyway, fun flick. Check it out if you get the chance. Next up is a more contemporary offering that just screams throwback exploitation film, and that is 2019's VFW. You got Stephen Lang in here, William Sadler, Fred Williamson's in this. This is absolutely intended to be kind of a throwback to the old school 70s action exploitation film mixed with like the 80s slasher and some more contemporary gore, right? Really good film. It's kind of like a siege film, but I would highly recommend it if you are a fan of old school 80s and 70s horror and action. This was actually shot on 16 millimeter to kind of give it that kind of grindhouse, that gritty grindhouse feel. And they used a lot of practical effects in this. So it really is kind of a retro throwback film. And I mean that as a compliment in the best possible way, because this is a lot of fun. So if you've never seen VFW, definitely give it a chance. It's a fun film. Next up is a Vinegar Syndrome release of a 1991 film that may be kind of under the radar for a lot of people, and that is All American Murder. Now, I think I briefly talked about this in another video at one point, but I don't think I went into too much detail on this. This was a lot of fun. It's kind of a murder mystery. It's almost kind of like a slasher meets a giallo type film, except it's American, of course. Oh, here, I should show you the back. You get a little bit of that there, huh? Check that out. Yeah, so now the whole movie is not like this, all right? This is just one scene in the movie, but kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where this goes. It's not too over the top on the gore, but it absolutely has its moments, like I just showed you on the back there. So yeah, you got Christopher Walken here playing a cop who's trying to solve this murder mystery. Just a lot of fun. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to be able to get the slipcover for this anymore. I believe that was sold out, but you can buy these releases, Vinegar Syndrome releases, from Amazon, and you'll get something like that, right? Amazon always carries Vinegar Syndrome's releases. They just don't carry the slipcovers or hard boxes or any kind of collectible packaging. You just get the standard Amaray case. But I will put a link, like I'm doing with all these other films. I will put a link in the description so you can check this one out if you're interested in it. By the way, a funny thing about this one is it was directed by Anson Williams. Some of you may remember him from Happy Days. He played the old show, the TV show Happy Days. He played Potsy in Happy Days. Well, he actually directed this film. It was apparently the only film he ever directed. So that's kind of an interesting little trivia tidbit there. And that alone might pique your interest if you're a big Anson Williams Happy Days fan. But this film's just a lot of fun and definitely one of the better blind buys that I ever picked up from Vinegar Syndrome. So check it out if you get a chance. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And also don't forget to hit that notification bell as well so you can be alerted when I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. Also, don't forget to give the video a good thumbs up, give it a like. That does actually help more than people may realize with the channel's visibility out there on YouTube. So thanks so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Next up, I've got another Vinegar Syndrome release, and that would be the Invisible Maniac. This kind of is more of a horror comedy, I would say. It was a great film, though. I had so much fun with this one. Yeah, it's kind of cheesy, a little bit campy. You do get a high boob count, though, so that's always a good thing, yeah. Like I said, a Vinegar Syndrome release. I don't know if you can still get this slipcover anymore, but again, I will be putting a link to the standard edition version. So if you order this from the Amazon link that I put below, you will only be getting the standard edition, which, by the way, has reversible cover art. But you will only be getting the standard edition. You won't get the slipcover if you order this from Amazon. Now, I don't know if the slipcovers are still available on Vinegar Syndrome's website, but that's where you get the collectible packaging. They don't ever put the collectible packaging on Amazon. You have to go to Vinegar Syndrome directly if you want that. Next up, we have a very, very interesting piece of horror history here, and that is with the 1992 film Ghost Watch. Now, this is fascinating because what this is like a mock news broadcast, like a mock news investigation news broadcast that actually aired on Halloween on the BBC in the UK in, I guess, 92. Basically, what they're doing with this mock newscast is they're investigating what is considered the most haunted house in Britain, apparently. And so they create a whole thing around this. What's interesting about this is this caused a whole bunch of controversy when it first aired because they treated it like it was a real newscast. They didn't let viewers know this was just some mock thing we're doing for fun, right? They actually aired it and played it off like it was a real newscast, and people thought it was real. And they got really freaked out and flipped out. They were calling in the BBC, complaining about it, freaking out, wondering if this was really real. They thought this was really happening. And it caused so much controversy that apparently the BBC banned this for many, many years and wouldn't let people see it. So now this release came out last year. This was a nice, cool, chunky box set here. Look at that. I don't think you can get this anymore, or if you can get it on eBay probably, but at secondary market prices. But I don't think you can find this like new on Amazon anymore. The link I'll put in the description is just for the standard edition, but this is so much fun. The atmosphere and the mood of this whole thing is so great, especially when you know that people actually thought it was real back when it aired and that it stirred up all this controversy. This has an awesome little documentary. I think it's about an hour-long documentary that that tells you about the whole story of what happened when they put this out and when this film first aired, and how people responded to it. So it really is a fascinating piece of horror history. And I think you can make the case that this was really one of the early found footage type films, even though it's not exactly found footage. It's like a, you know, it's a camera crew and whatever, like going through this house and seeing what kind of spooky events happen in this house. So yeah, check it out. Ghost Watch. It's a lot of fun. Some great mood and atmosphere. And it just really is a very interesting piece of horror history. And finally, for my 10th recommendation here would be Dead and Buried. I think I have mentioned this title a little bit before on this channel, but really good atmosphere on this. You got, and check out my lenticular slipcover there, huh? How cool is that? I think I'll take it out of here so you guys can see it a little bit better here. Yeah, Dead and Buried, of course, reversible artwork. Yeah, this is a really good movie. You got Melody Anderson here from Flash Gordon. Robert Englund's in this one. This one is thick with some great atmosphere, just really good atmosphere on this one. I do think the less you know about it going into it, the better. It's another one of those movies where it's really just best to let it kind of wash over you, just let it unfold and just go along for the ride. So, but it's a creepy movie. It's a very creepy movie, and you know, there's some intense stuff in it. By the way, this was co-written by Dan O'Bannon of Alien fame, and the same guy who also directed Return of the Living Dead. So this has got some horror bona fides, some serious horror credibility attached to it. So yeah, Dead and Buried. This is a 4K release from Blue Underground. Blue Underground does great work, and they put a lot of work into this particular restoration from what I understand. So yeah, check out Dead and Buried if you've never seen this. It's awesome. Okay, that wraps up the 10 titles that I wanted to talk about, but of course you guys know I always throw in at least a few honorable mentions for good measure, right? So another great recommendation would be this one, Last Night in Soho. More contemporary film, but again, it's got some serious throwback vibes to it. Kind of reminds you of Dario Argento quite a bit, the coloring, the aesthetics. It's got a bit of a giallo vibe to it, and definitely reminiscent of Suspiria a little bit, and some other influences as well. But this is directed by Edgar Wright, and to me at least, it's clear that he's very much paying tribute, paying homage to some of the horror classics, and particularly Italian horror with this one. It's a bit of a slow burn, but it's got some awesome payoffs at the end. So I really enjoyed this one. It's a lot of fun. So if you've never seen Last Night in Soho, check it out. Moving on to a little Tobe Hooper action. If you've never seen Life Force, this is one definitely worth checking out, especially if you're pretty open-minded and don't mind some of your horror being a little over the top. And what I mean by that is in terms of concept, right? This is about space vampires, or about a space vampire. So it's kind of sci-fi. It's definitely got some strong horror elements. But it's a lot of fun, some great special effects, and it's just got some really over-the-top stuff in it that's a whole lot of fun to watch. So if you've never seen Life Force, yeah, check it out when you get a chance. And the last film that I wanted to talk about was one called Cherry Falls from 1999. Now this one I actually just watched myself last night. I'll admit part of the appeal of this one and what made me want to check this one out was the fact that it has Michael Biehn in it. Come With Me If You Want to Live, right? From Terminator. So I've been on a bit of a Michael Biehn kick lately, so I had to pick this one up. But it's also got Brittany Murphy in it, who's a good actress, or who was a good actress while she was alive. So now it's a fun film. I'll admit it's a fun film, but it's pretty predictable. If you're at all savvy with horror, I'm guessing you probably won't have a hard time figuring out who the killer is in this one. But essentially the premise is, I think it was Lee over at Drum Dumps said that this was essentially the opposite of It Follows. I would kind of agree with that. Although I will say It Follows is a much better movie than this one. This one wasn't as good as It Follows, but I still had fun with it. It's got some great payoffs toward the end. It's not completely predictable, but it's pretty close to being almost entirely predictable. So Though I'll admit the premise for this was pretty amusing. Essentially, someone is going around killing all the virgins in the town. So that becomes an issue. And the movie does get a little silly in places, but I still had a good time with it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth checking it out. It's certainly not going to win any awards, horror awards, but you know, it's worth checking out if you've never seen it. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my horror recommendations on physical media today. Let me know what you guys think of these choices. Have you guys seen these films? If so, what'd you think of them? I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And also don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you soon.